Hello friend, I hope that you are good. I trust that you are well and keeping safe amidst of the pandemic. Today, I come to you again. I am a Rostoben, a trainer, a career counselor, and a personal development coach. Today's session, I want to talk to the youth. I want to talk about the youth. Of late, we have been having occurrences, and these occurrences are disturbing. They are occurrences that no one would wish to give them a second thought. Allow me to mention just a few. We have heard of cases where the youth are muddling their parents for them to inherit their wealth by force. What do I mean by that? That the youths, not all of them, some of them are inheriting their parents' property by force, by fire, even if it means killing them. That's one. Something else. The youth of nowadays, they value money and material wealth more than morals and God. So disturbing. Most of us, or most of the youths, they treat God as an AOB, as any other business. And that fact is very disturbing. The youth of nowadays, they think that everything is just meant to be. Very little percentage, though I have no proof, but to my thinking, very little percentage of the youths believe that hard work pays. They only hear of us and the other people or the elderly talking of hard work pays. For them, they don't know what we really mean by hard work. What do I mean by this? You find that a youth want to be employed today and get money today and drive a big machine today and own a big house today and own a big land today and so on and so forth, which is not the case. Again, the youth of nowadays, they want everything to just happen. What they demand must be fulfilled whatsoever the case. And this is why you find that the youths are being punished either by the government, by the parent, by the institution, maybe where they are schooling, and after that, the next thing, if it is in an institution, is a strike. Why? One of us was punished. That is why you find that some of these youth, maybe they get into collision with the police, and the next thing they think of is how to ban the government property. Why? Because to them, their demands should be fulfilled with immediate effect. So disturbing that, again, the youths of nowadays, they don't value morals and other things. What do I mean by that? You find that majority of the youths of nowadays, drug taking to them is just but a norm. Taking marijuana, taking cocaine, taking of all those other hard drugs, to them it's not a big deal. It is something just for pleasure, something to just make them feel good. And yet, it's something that is destroying their bodies, something that is destroying their lives. Today, with all due respect, engaging in sexuality, it's not a big deal. And when I talk of this, let me be a little bit open here. Find that a man is so much willing to engage he is willing to engage into sex with as many girls as he can. He doesn't care. Same case to ladies, same case to the girls. Having or going around sleeping with all other men, and whether old or young, it's not a big thing. This thing, no wonder we are having t-shirts nowadays written, haina last seen, it has no last seen. No one can tell when last, you get what I mean. So much disturbing. Nowadays, it's not a big deal. You get into a matatu. If you travel by a matatu and you find that there is an old lady who has no place to sit, and the youths cannot even offer a seat. They cannot even decide, out of respect, let me offer this elderly lady or elderly man my seat. The youths have no of that. They have no sense of humor. When I talk of being human, in other words. So that's why I feel that I need to speak to the youths. And I say this, I don't mean that we are good in any way. And I'm not saying that there are no good youths. That's not what I mean. Actually, I know there are so many of the youths who are good out there. But Whether you classify yourself on the good side or on the bad side, I think this message belongs to you. Number one, accept yourself and understand who you are. Accept yourself and understand who you are. What do I mean by this? One of my greatest writer of all time, by the name Mark Twain, he said, the worst loneliness is not to be comfortable with yourself. If you want to have a good life, if you want to have a peace of mind, if you want to live a happy life, you must understand yourself and you must know who you are. When I talk of understanding and accepting yourself, this is what I mean. Get to know what you like and what you don't like. Get to know who you can relate with and who you cannot relate with. Get to know to what extent can you go on any matter, and to what extent, which boundaries can't you cross whatsoever. Not that anybody is watching you, not that anybody will question you, but because of your principles. Get to know your talents, get to know your passion, get to know your interest, for you to know, for you to live a good life. Yes, I know somebody may tell me, you know what, Arosto, I know myself. I know I'm a dark guy. And because I'm a dark guy, I must try to be a light-skinned guy. I don't mean about that. Let me tell you, we have heard of people who have used chemicals. We have heard of people who have used drugs to try and convert their skin color, to try and maybe increase their hair, to try and maybe change their physical looking. But can I tell you something? Whether you do it or you don't, you will not change your ideal self. Whether you change your skin color, whether you shave, whether you dress nicely, whether you walk naked, you will never change your ideal self. There is no single known drug that changes an ideal self. What you like will still remain as it was. What you don't like will remain as it was. Your talents, your passion, your interest remains as they are whatsoever. And this is my advice. Rather than thinking of how you are going to change your skin color, why don't you just accept that I was born dark as Arosto, and that's who I am. I was born tall. That's who you are. Instead of thinking of how you are going to cut yourself short, why don't you think of how you are going to take advantage of your height? Instead of thinking how dark you are, why don't you see it as a way of being unique? Why don't you take it as your uniqueness? Instead of thinking of how you are going to increase some parts of your body, why don't you think of your strengths that you are going to capitalize on? Let me tell you this. Your physical looking will never alter your original self. Can I repeat that again? Your physical outlook will never alter your original self. Let me tell you this. Whether you are tall or dark, whether you are light-skinned or short, whether you are disabled or differently abled or normal, let me tell you this. You will never change what you can. If you were born to be a teacher, whether dark, tall, short, light-skinned, you will still work well to be a teacher. If you are meant to understand, to have a good social life, understanding people and living with different kind of people, whether you change your skin color, whether you increase some body parts or do whatever you do, you will never change that. You can never change your ideal self. You can only accept who you are and capitalize on your strength. I want to give you an assignment, my good listener, whoever is looking at me or watching me at this time. I'm giving you this assignment. Why don't you go sit, identify your weaknesses, identify your strengths. All right? Identify your weaknesses, identify your strength. And once you've done that, work on your weaknesses and capitalize on your strengths. What do I mean by that? If you find that you are good in public speaking like I, and maybe you are poor in reading, if you want to gain more wisdom, you can maybe capitalize on public speaking. You can think of how you are going to engage in public speaking, maybe through poetry, maybe through singing, maybe through addressing, being an MC, and so on and so forth. Those areas that require your public speaking skills. And then once you realize that, if you know that you are not good in reading, you can still assimilate more wisdom through watching videos. You get what I mean? Through listening audios, podcast, all right? Through watching such lessons, that I'm giving you. It's not a must that you sit and read a book or sit and go through a newspaper for you to still assimilate wisdom. You can capitalize on other areas. Let me give you one more example. If you found that you are good, you are just but perfect when it comes to writing, writing down maybe composition of songs, composition of poetry, writing, anything to do with writing, you are good at that, okay? And maybe you are very weak when it comes to socializing with people. My good friend, it's okay. Maybe you still need to work on your weakness. Maybe try to little by little engage in conversation with people, but take much time when you are alone. Write down articles on anything, not only articles on maybe music or maybe a drama or whatever it is. Just write down something. Take your time to put down something. This is what I mean, capitalizing on your strength as you work on your weaknesses. Understand your talent, understand your passion, understand your interest, my good friend, rather than capitalizing on areas that will not benefit you in any way. Let me give you a good example. As I call it off, show me that one person who has ever been offered a job because she is a light skin. There's none. Show me that one person who has been ever gone, maybe been given a scholarship, or maybe some goodies have been given to him or her because she has a figure 8. There's none. Why? Because our physical outlook doesn't determine our ideal selves. Whether you are dark, you still get to whatever level you want. If you are light skinned, you can still go to the farthest that you can. Get what I mean? So that's what I say. Accept who you are. Understand who you are. Get to know what you like and what you don't like. Get to know your talents, your passion, your interest, and so on and so forth. That's the first rule. If you want to live a peaceful life as a youth, rule number 1, accept yourself and understand who you are. Second part, if you want to be if you want to live a good life as a successful youth in the 21st century, be ready. Be ready to learn, relearn, and be corrected. The fools of the 21st century is not the one who doesn't know how to write and read. The fool of the 21st century is that who is not willing to relearn and learn new things. Why do I say this? Because so much is happening. With advancement in technology, every day new things are being invented. More ways, better ways of dealing with an issue are being invented. Let me give you a good example. We lived to know, or in the old days, people lived to know that we only have manual cars where you change the gears as you move, as you drive. But today we have automatic cars. We lived to say that you can only fuel your vehicle. Nowadays we are talking of electric cars. Okay? Why am I saying this? I want to show you this. The mechanics who used to deal with the manual vehicles, if they don't relearn, if they don't drop the knowledge they have and learn how to operate and fix the automatic vehicles, they become obsolete. Those mechanics who have still learned, they were the old mechanics, but they have learned how to operate and fix automatic vehicles. They are now being forced to learn how to fix electric vehicles for them to still remain viable in the market. Let me give you another good example. Teachers Teachers of the old days are not teachers of nowadays. What do I mean by this? In the old days, the youth of then, the children of then, they didn't have too much freedom. They didn't have too much knowledge exposed to them. But nowadays, we have children who know much than even the teachers. On top of that, they speak a different language altogether, the Sheng. They speak the Sheng language. And you know what? If a teacher doesn't understand the Sheng, chances are the language, everyone or the youth or the student in his class or her class will speak that language, and she will not be able to understand what they are saying. So that teacher requires to be on toes to learn the new language, get to know what does this word mean in Sheng. When the student says this, what does it necessarily mean? Nowadays, children are suffering from myriad of diseases, more so stress. We have so many students who are suffering from stress, maybe from what is happening at home. In the old days, children used to be denied so much from the family. That is, when the parents fight, it would be hard for the children to know. But nowadays, mother and dad fight, and the next morning, the mother is updating their children on what their father was saying. That alone becomes a source of stress. So this teacher, the teachers of nowadays must learn how to handle students with the issues of stress. Some of them are suffering from life conditions, asthma, diabetes, and so on and so forth. How do we handle such students? This is what I mean, that even you, as the youth of the 21st century, my good friend, if you want to remain viable, if you want to remain up to date, you must be ready to learn and relearn. In the old days, people used to think that you can only speak to people when you converge them into a hall and share the information with them. Look at what that is happening today. You can record such a video and share, and people will still get your message. Other than that, you can still call people virtually into a meeting via Skype, via Zoom, via Google Meet, what we call a video conferencing, and still share the message with them. Those people who still remain with the old ways will be thrown out in the market. You have to be ready to learn and relearn for you to be viable in the market, for you to be up to date with the occurrences of today. So, if you want to live a good life, if you want to still be successful in life, as a youth today, be ready to learn and relearn, and also be corrected. There is no one who becomes an expert. There is no one who becomes an expert by himself. Every expert in the field was assessed by another expert in the same field, was trained by an expert in the same field. Professors are assessed by professors. You never become a professor just like that. You have to be assessed by a professor. You need to be corrected. If you don't accept corrections, then be assured you'll never become the expert. So be ready also to be corrected. When you go for internship somewhere, and maybe you find some experts there, you find some people there, and they tell you that don't follow this route, be ready not to follow it. Be ready to listen to them. For if you want to become an expert, you must be ready to be corrected by experts. Point number 3. If you want to live a good, peaceful, and successful life as a youth of the 21st century, be ready to exercise your patience and your perseverance. Be ready to exercise your patience and your perseverance. What do we mean by this? Rome wasn't built in a day is one of the archaic, one of the old saying, but still has a lot of meaning. That you cannot be what you want to be within a day. It will take you time. You know what I mean? If you want to become a professional medic, you have to be ready to persevere the many years of training. You know, if you want to become an engineer, you have to persevere. There's too much training that you undertake. A story is told of a group of 70 students who wanted to become professional doctors. And this first lesson, when they were called to school, they went to school, and in their very first lesson, their teacher, definitely a professional medic, decided to take them to a morgue. And you know what? When they were taken to a morgue and the dead bodies were displayed to them, when they were going back, only 20 went back to class. 50 of them had withdrawn. Why? Because the 50 could not persevere what they had seen. There's so much that you'll experience before you become the person you want to be. There's so much that you will experience before you become that good person, that great business lady, that great businessman, that expert that you want to become. You have to be ready to exercise your patience, because it is not like the old days where Jesus said, "Let there be," and there was. These are not those days. Only Jesus who had the opportunity. For others, all of us who are created by him, we have to persevere. Before I became who I became today, I had to persevere so much. I had to exercise my patience, knocking door after door, and sometimes you are told yes, other times you are told no. Other time you are told that we don't need such services. You have to exercise your patience. You have to exercise your perseverance. My good youth, if you want to become that great person, be ready to exercise your patience. Be ready to exercise your perseverance. Don't wish to engage in the wash business. You know what I mean? Don't wish or don't have that desire of the quick rich schemes. That one will just throw you into a big mess. That one will just throw you into a big mess. My good friend, why don't you take your time? Why don't you exercise your patience? One step at a time. And regardless of the size of the step that you take, even if it's a baby step, just appreciate yourself. Know that that little step, it's moving you closer. It's pushing you closer to your dreams. Be ready to exercise your patience. Be ready to exercise your perseverance. Number 4. I'm moving a little bit fast, all right, because I don't want to keep you here. Number 4, if you want to live a peaceful and a successful life, a life that is regret-free as a 21st youth, then have a mentor or a coach. Have a mentor or a coach. Let me ask you, doesn't it feel nice when you want to travel to an unknown destination and somebody who knows the destination or somebody who knows the route explains to you the way? Doesn't it feel nice? Or don't you feel much prepared for a student? When a teacher tells you, expect this in the exam, expect that in the exam, don't you feel much prepared? Or maybe, doesn't it feel more confident? Don't you feel more confident when you are going for an interview and one of the people who have gone through the route tells you, they ask these kinds of questions. They even don't tell you the actual question, but they tell you that these type of questions are the ones that are asked. Don't you feel more confident? Don't you feel more prepared? And I'm sure the answer is yes. This is what life coach do. This is what mentors do. They help you build your confidence. They help you gain the courage to move to the right direction, to move to your new areas. In life, you don't know what tomorrow holds, but even if you don't know what tomorrow holds, you've people who have gone through the same route that you are following. They will tell you that expect A, B, C, and D at this point X, Y, and Z. This is what life coach will do. This is what mentors will do. They'll guide you. Where they'll see you mess up, they'll just tell you. They'll foresee situations of you messing up or situations of you succeeding, and they'll let you know in advance. My good listener, it's good that you also have a mentor. It's good that you have a coach, somebody who will foresee pitfalls for you, and they'll tell you, don't follow this route, for if you do that, then definitely you are going to fall. Follow this route and surely you will not regret. Have a mentor or a coach. Lastly, point number 5, be prayerful and God-fearing. Be prayerful and God-fearing. We are living in such a time when you talk of being man of God, you are seen as being foolish. You are seen as being as if you are unwise. When you talk of being a woman of God, people see as if you are outdated, as if you don't know what you want. But let me tell you, this is the person who created you. Person into quote. He is your creator. He is the King of kings. He is the mightiest of the mighty. He is the teacher of teachers. He is the doctor of doctors. He is the great of the greatest. He is the one who created each one of us. Whether you believe in God or you don't, that one I don't care. But the fact remains that He is the one who determines who we shall be. I know many theories have been written, many theories have been taught, but there is one theory that is the greatest of all, that it is undisputable that we are all created by God. He is the one who determines the kind of a person we shall be. He is the one who determines how our tomorrow will be. He is the one who determines whether we shall be blessed or not. He is the one who determines generally how my life will be like. Why don't you want to engage Him? Why don't you want to give your life to Him? Why don't you want Him to take control of your life? Whether you want it or you don't, you have to be prayerful. Engage Him through prayers at all time. Let Him take the lead. Let Him show you the direction. Let Him be the one to take control of your life. If you want to live a good life, successful life, a life that is regrets-free as a youth of the 21st century, my dear friend, my dear listener, you have to be prayerful and God-fearing. Respect Him. Anything to do with God, you have to respect it. And I don't necessarily mean that you have to go to church on Sunday. No, that's not what I mean. I don't necessarily mean that you have to pray when others are praying. That's not what I mean. You are the one to determine the type of relation that you want to have with Him. You are the one who will determine how you will have the connection between you and your God. Going to church doesn't mean that you are faithful. Going to church doesn't mean that you are saved. Going to church is not a guarantee that you'll go to heaven. Your relationship with God is what ascertains your relationship. You are going to heaven and how you relate with your God. As I summarize, I want to make an altar call and request you as the youth, please, even if you have no reasons of engaging God, engage Him because He created you. You have no reasons of engaging Him. Engage Him for this one simple reason, that He is the one who created you. I wish to put an end to that. I know I could say much. I know I can say much. But I want to tell you this. Don't forget those 5 basic things. According to me, they'll help you live a life that is regret-free. That when you get to the age of 40, when you get to the age of 50, you'll surely look back and you'll say, were it not that I knew who I am and understood who I am, were it not that I accepted to learn and learn for me to remain viable, were it not that I got a life coach, were it not I was patient and I exercised my perseverance, were it not I engaged God, I wouldn't be where I am. And I'm sure at that time when you'll also be having your young ones, when you'll be having your daughter, your son listening to you, you'll tell them, my son, my daughter, if you want to live a good life, during the days of your youth, do as I did. I'm always one of those people who are always happy when my parents do tell me, if you want to remain a good person, if you want to live a good life, if you want to remain successful in this life, do what I did when I was a young person, and surely you'll not regret. I always find joy and pride when my parents are telling me this. I hope you can add to this list. But these 5 things, they will help you live a good life. I wish to stop at that point. But as I stop at that point, I'll tell you this, that purpose to live a life that is regret-free. And surely you'll never regret. Can I repeat that? Purpose to live a life that is regret-free. And surely you'll never regret. Until our next meeting, have yourself a good time.